We're back, everybody. This is the SilmFilm Script Discussion, Season 2, Episode 7, Part 5. Numbers. And thankfully, I have my engineer buddies to count for me. And
I can only count to 4, sorry. I'm a rabbit.
Thanks for liking and sharing the videos. Thank you for subscribing. Any support that you give us is fantastically appreciated as we try to put together the people who study Tolkien languages and the people who are interested in the SilmFilm project into one massive group. That's not going to happen.
5 people.
So, no, there's the 3 of us, and there's 3 people watching on YouTube.
Oh, there's 6 people, and Brian and Creed, of course. So.
And Brian and Creed, who are not here. So that's 8.
Yeah.
And Professor Olson, Trish Lambert, and David Kale, that's 11. Anyway,
okay.
Brandon says that he's a computer nerd and can only count to 2. Brandon says that he's a computer nerd and so he can only count to 2. Actually, you can only count to 1 because the other digit is 0
and 1. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, rabbits can only count to 4 in Watership Down. So that's where I got that from.
I assumed. Okay, so I actually do think that Alex's suggestion might be the way to go, where he's suggesting that maybe they almost kiss in the quiet garden scene, and she takes off. Feanor maybe sees this.
It's in his house, after all.
Right. He didn't suggest this point. I did. And then to go back to his suggestion, goes and tattles on them to Ingwe, who brings the issue to the Valar because he's upset about it, and the Valar are like, well, actually, Mando says she's not coming back. She promises never to come back, so we think this is probably okay.
The Valar do not make quick decisions.
I agree. I'm laying it out.
Right. So one thing that would happen is once you get the Valar involved, they're going to say, let's think about this. We'll get back to you in 10 years. And then they're like, here's our decision. Right. So we will need a time jump in there.
So when we get adult Feanor by then?
Probably.
Okay. So maybe no, we can't do that because then we don't get the wedding as the midpoint.
You don't want the time jump before the midpoint?
I mean, I guess we can, but it's gonna feel a little weird.
Which is why you'd switch an actor out to demonstrate that time has passed, but it's still gonna feel weird. You're right. I'm not saying it can work well. I think that any scene where you say, we are now going to deliberate for a long time, if the very next scene, the next second of video is, we have made our decision, no one buys the time jump. So, so yeah, there is a tricky thing there. Well, I don't know how to.
I mean,
asphalt. Indis, Ingwe, Feanor, Finwe.
Yeah,
those are our choices.
That could be our midpoint.
The just asking the Valar.
Yeah.
We've made Act 2 like drag out a lot. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's give that a shot then and see. We'll throw up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes it. 12 Angry Men reference check. And okay. So then what we do is the Valar decide that they're going to deliberate. That's our act break. The next thing we see is adult Feanor. Okay. What I'm thinking is that we use this, but that's kind of where I was going. Is adult Feanor start setting up the romance between Feanor and Nerdanel. However, if we just see Feanor and Nerdanel wandering around the woods, wandering in the woods alone, individually, we kind of like, how do they know it's Feanor if it's a different actor?
Well, we would start with a scene to set this up. So back in Finway's house, Feanor is now an adult. He still lives at home with his dad.
Yes.
Because his dad is the king, and that's what you do.
Right.
But he hates it there because of the whole Finwe and Indis situation.
Yes.
So he bugs out all the time.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm off. I'll be back in a while. See you, and just leaves.
Okay, before we do that, I want to set up the admiration of Nerdanel's craftsmanship in Act 1 or 2, where he sees a statue and admires it,
but doesn't meet her.
And doesn't meet her. That I like the idea. I really like the idea of him liking her work first. Like,
okay, so does she make a swan statue for Aqualande?
Well, I think that's later. That's in the setting up of the Spirit of Fire shot.
Right. The very end of this episode. Okay, so she makes a statue for somewhere in Tyrion of some sort.
Yes, and like Feanor could even, like, Matan could be with him, and Feanor could say something to the effect of, "Oh, that's an amazing statue." I like, he's really impressed with it, and asks like, who made that? And he's like, "Oh, my daughter made it." And he's like, "Really? Okay."
One thing that is supposed to be awesome about Nerdanel statues is that people don't recognize that they're statues. They think they're real.
Ooh.
So you would like walk up to the person and go to talk to them and realize it's just a statue, or like bend down to pet a dog and realize it's just a statue.
Yeah.
So I think that Feanor could be the one who makes that mistake.
Yes. Yes.
And therefore and we think that he's a very proud person, so he's going to be mad that he just got embarrassed in front of people, because someone probably laughs at him for talking to a statue.
Right.
But he doesn't. He's like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen a statue like this before.
Right.
Like, his reaction isn't to be all offended on behalf of his own dignity. He admires the workmanship.
Yes. Yes.
And
we should probably see Feanor doing a crafty thing first. We've seen Feanor doing crafty and inventive things. He's fine. I'm not worried about his craftiness.
Yeah, somewhere in Act 2, while he's inventing Tengwar, whatever, he can bump into a statue.
Okay. One per act is enough. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So now we have adult Feanor, and we established that by somebody calling him Feanor. And Finwe, okay. Finwe pulls him aside and is like, "Hey, the Valar are supposed to be giving their verdict today. I'd like you to be there." And he's like, "No."
Perfect, because I think Indis would be living with her father through all of this. So Indis is in Valar.
Yeah, clearly, Finwe is not letting Indis out of his sight.
Right. Yeah, Indis has not been hanging out in Tyrion in Finway's household during this whole time, because then it would look like that's the scandal. Like, we want them to be doing everything completely above board and being 100%.
And Aqualande is complete now. Yes, Alex.
Yeah. Sorry, and that would be to show the passage of time.
Right.
Aqualande is now beautifully Aqualande.
Yes.
But I want Indis to behave 100% above board in a Southern Belle kind of way.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I have no problem with that.
Right. Nothing Indis does is scandalous,
I have no problem
except for the fact that all the elves view her actions as totally scandalous.
Yes.
That's what needs to.
As far as the elves are concerned, she's a huge hoe.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She's taking somebody else's husband.
Yes.
Which you do not do.
Yes. Because that is wrong.
Yes. Generally, it's wrong to steal someone's spouse, right?
I agree. I agree.
Our audience is like, but dude, she's dead.
Okay, so he's like, no, I'm not going to that. That's utter nonsense.
Right, and then he goes off into the woods or whatever.
And then he goes off into the woods, and okay, so I just had this image of Nerdanel has this like little, like this little dell or like this little dingle or something that sounds like that, where she like carves a bunch of where she goes to be alone and carves like a bunch of stone statues there, and they're just littering this entire little area, and Feanor happens upon it. And she is just wandering around in awe, and she walks in with like her box of tools and whatnot.
So then the audience will recognize that she's the maker of that statue earlier.
Right. Like make sure, and we have to make sure that there's like a prototype of the statue that he saw. You know, because like these are like the rougher statues that she does just to like get the art out, you know?
Right. But this sounds like a workshop, which she has back home. So why is her workshop outside in the middle of a hill somewhere?
Well, because like I said, this is like her place where she can because she does a lot of work out of her father's shop,
right,
out of her father's workshop. But this is her own private, like Alex says, a private secluded quarry.
Okay. Yes, I could see a quarry would not be in town with people. So
right.
Yes, so this is where she's getting her work supplies, and she happens to have some rough stuff there because sometimes she works in the quarry.
Right. Well, sometimes she's like she sees it in the stone before she gets it there, so she starts doing it. So she has to.
The question is Nerdanel a redhead? She can be. It's not necessary. Her father is a redhead, and 3 of her 7 children are redheads.
It's likely.
Well, redhead or the generation. She can also be brown-haired with red highlights.
That's true.
That would fit the
text. See it in this video, but I'm brown-haired with red highlights. Anyway,
technically, me too. My mom's redheaded.
Interestingly enough, my wife, who's Chinese, has really dark brown hair with red highlights.
See, it's really common. So Nerdanel has that hair. Everyone in this video has that hair.
Anyway, so
but yes, she's possibly redheaded.
Yes. So we get they nerd out. Presumably. Like, you know, he's like, oh my gosh, you made this stuff, and she's like, yeah, but you made this, and pulls out like a scroll with like writing on it, and you know, and it's like, you know, it's like, it's you, no, it's you, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes. So it's a very fun meeting where they both are very happy to see each other.
Yes. Okay. Where do we go with this? Do we go from there to I mean, obviously we can cut from the end of that scene to the
trial.
to the statue being delivered. Yes.
Yeah, I think she might ask him what he's doing there. And I'm not sure he has an answer for that because he just basically ran away from home, so he didn't have to deal with his father.
Yes. Intercut skinny dipping and statue delivery.
No.
I don't really. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on this episode to insert Feanor and Nerdanel nudity, and I'm not entirely certain why. It doesn't need to be there.
It does not. And I want to show that their relationship progresses in a way that is very natural and very much not constrained by someone else is telling us what to do with our lives. You know, the two of them, they love each other, they are interested in each other, and as time goes on, they get to know each other better and better, and then they decide to get married and get married. So it's in contrast to Indis and Finwe needing everyone's permission. Like literally everyone, not just her father's permission, but the Valar have to weigh in, and all the people are going to weigh in, and everyone's going to be against it. And it's this huge deal. Like they need all the external things. Whereas for Feanor and Nerdanel, it's really just the two of them deciding they want to be together.
Yeah.
I don't think skinny dipping is necessary. I do think being very free and natural in how they interact with each other is important.
Yeah.
In that there's not going to be the, oh, you know, we can't touch you because that would be improper. Like none of that in the Feanor Nerdanel relationship. And all of that in the Indis Finwe relationship.
Yes. Like there's no need for any kind of prude kind of separation between. So when I I agree that a romance montage is a good idea in this case.
And they can be wandering around the beauty of Valinor and walking through streams barefoot and splashing each other and laughing about it. Like that's fine. I don't think they don't need to take their clothes off. But there can be something very fun in the way their romance progresses that was absent from Finwe and Indis. That's
lying in grass facing each other with their hands up against each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And talking. Like, they get to know each other really well. And understand each other.
Rachel gives an interesting suggestion. And she's saying, what if he does a rant? If he does rant a little bit here and we see the beginning of Nerdanel's level-headedness, what if he doesn't want to go to the wedding and she convinces him to do it?
Okay, so we see them meet and then we cut away and go back to the statue. So with the Valar. So we don't get to see too much of where Nerdanel and Feanor are going. Like I said, she might ask him what he's doing there and he gives some answer, but doesn't get very far. Then we go back and hear they're given permission. So immediately after that, we're having wedding planning because Indis and Finwe were just waiting for years and years and years. They're going to get married pretty much right away.
Alex is saying that if you're intercutting the fun and carefree with the scandal and whispering and shock,
which, when you mentioned earlier, Alex, that Indis has to absolutely hate that Feanor is going out and spending time with Nerdanel, she's having to deal with the entire people of the Noldor looking at her with disapproval for daring to break into the home and do all this. Feanor can just go flit about with his girlfriend whenever he wants and no one cares. There's going to be some opportunity for resentment there.
Yeah. Interestingly, they're the same generation in a weird way, so...
Except that Ingwe is probably a generation above Finwe, so Finwe and Indis are actually the same generation.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break real quick. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through the rest of this episode in a timely fashion. This has been the SilmFilm Scripture Cousins Season 2, Episode 7, Part 5, 6?
5.
5. Counting person says 5. So, awesome. Feel free to like and share the videos if you're watching them on YouTube in the future. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. If you're watching us live, we'll be back in a second.